Here you go. I'll go.
Go. We're recording now, so you can start talking.
Yeah, what's up, man? Hey, dude. So I spent the last weekend in Vegas with my daughter for a soccer tournament, and I can unequivocally say that the city, the strip, Vegas, the whole experience, I hate it.
But isn't
I
that your team,
loved
dude? Like, aren't you like the
I
Raiders for
am.
life, Vegas Raiders?
I'm all Raiders, baby. I'm all Raiders, but that has nothing. Do you want to live in Dallas? I'm just throwing that out there. Do you want
I
to live
don't.
in Dallas? No. I would argue that a lot of our teams are not places that we'd necessarily want to live. But that being said, and for those of you that love Vegas, you know, no judgment, and I wish you the best. But it's just like everything like is so overstimulating. It's just like and the just the I'll tell you, walking around there just made me sad. Like it made me sad to um from the young women who were just completely uh uh, not only being objectified, but and young men, mostly women though, that they were putting themselves in positions as well to just be just objects, right? Walking around naked and just um the intent behind that I think is pretty obvious. To looking at like elderly dudes sitting at a machine for hours at a time, drinking, smoking, and just losing money. The house always wins, man. Like you might win a couple hands, whatever, but like the reason Vegas is able to afford all that electricity is because you continue to put money into those machines, right? And so it's interesting though. It got me really in the mindset of thinking about gambling and money and like what's the intent and the power. Really, it's the draw of money, right? It's the idea that you're going to hit whatever it is with the cards, with the machine, with the whatever, and it's going to make you rich. And then those riches are then going to make you happy. All the build up and the hangover and the smoking and the sloth of sitting there pushing button, like all the things that build up to it, there's still this hope in this moment, and it's going to bring you joy. And it really got me thinking, like, we've had some conversations recently about the idea of the power of money. And one of the things that I have really embraced is that the way we built our calendar, you and I, to enable relationship building on Thursdays, snowboarding, like you're in my relationship, or inviting others into snowboarding, mountain biking, coffees, lunch, whatever. Every Thursday, that's locked in, right? And then I've built other times in my calendar, particularly during fishing months, to fish, every Friday morning, for example. And we were just kind of playing the mind game of like, would I be willing to take a job that didn't allow for those things to happen? How much would they have to pay me? And what's interesting is we worked through that conversation. Like if you were to add $100,000 tomorrow, would I give up those things for 100K? Absolutely not. Would I give it up for 500K? No. Would I give it up for a million? No. But then like we were like, okay, 10 million. And I don't know why, but it like gives you pause. And the conversation we're having this with a couple of dudes, they're like, well, maybe then you start finding ways, well, maybe I would just work for 6 months, or maybe I do it for a year. You start sacrificing the thing that is important to you for this amount of money. And if you really think about it, like what would be more life-changing today? Would it be the 100,000, 500,000 immediate pay raise, or would it be a $10 million pay raise? Like what would be more impactful today? And it would be the lower amounts, right? Like the more achievable in my mind, the more achievable like amounts would be more. The difference from potentially where I'm at to another 500K is significant. If you throw 10 million on that, like that number's so big, like there's so much. Like I wouldn't spend what are you gonna buy? Like I want a Chevy Silverado and a to pay off my mortgage, right? Like where does the other, I don't know, 9.9 million go? Like it was an interesting conversation, but I found it fascinating that we all like kind of gave pause as that number got bigger. Well, maybe I would, but then I'm like, why? Why is that? Why would I sacrifice it? And then it to take it deeper, I'm like, huh, is there like an actual money, a value that I put on my friendships and my time with my kids? And could someone buy me out of that? And if they could, like, what does that say about me? What does that say about me if I'm willing to give up my time with you and snowboarding and time with my kids and even time to give to myself for my own personal growth, well-being, mental health with fishing and stuff like that, right? Am I willing to give that up for a dollar amount? That's kind of fascinating question itself. And I don't have an answer. What, this is at least for me, this real talk is not about like answering it and giving an answer and being like, oh no, if the number's 5 million, and if you give up your, like, it's not, that's not the point. The point is, have you ever played the mind game or considered what it is that you're willing to sacrifice? And is there a dollar amount that would cause you to effectively go against what you say is most important? It's just it was an interesting, it's kind of a gut punch.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it really comes down to the idols that are in our life, right? Like what idols do we have? I'm going through the 52-week devotional that Steve Healy wrote. Um, the best is yet to come. We had him on our podcast a while back, and there's a week about idols, right? And what do you put the forefront of your life that's higher up than God, essentially, right? Um, and one of the questions I actually posed it in the Facebook group, that was a question to reflect on in that week was, as it pertains to idols, what lies must I stop believing? And I think a lot of us, to include myself, puts money as an idol. And I answered the question on my journal. The lie that I must stop believing is that more money will make me happier. I think that's a complete lie. And that's what we're doing here, right? Like that's the evaluation, that's the equation that we are asking ourselves. At what point does the amount of money make us more happy to take away the stuff that we said was a priority, i.e., snowboarding on Thursdays, fly fishing on Fridays, going and volunteering at the school on Fridays, going on a coffee date with my wife on Friday mornings because I'm not working. Like what amount of money, like what idol do I think is going to make me happier? And I mean, I think the answer is there isn't, right? Um, but it's an interesting question for sure. Another exercise that we do inside the Kinetic Man is we talk about clarity and like, what do you want in your life? And one of the questions is like, what brings you joy, right? And we go through the exercise of reflecting through. Think of a time in your life where like you had true joy, like the type of joy that when you think about it, it just makes you smile. And we give time for men to think about that and write it down. And the answers that come back are pretty interesting because if you look at it, most of those answers don't require money, right? It's things like, we posted something on social media this week about doing Nerf gun battles with our kids, and a gentleman replied to that and said like, this is one of the most fun times that we had with our family is Nerf gun battles. That doesn't take a lot of money, right? One of the times in my life that I think about a lot is watching my kids do the fun run at their school, right? Just running around in circles. They're all dressed up and it's got some hype music on and maybe a little Taylor Swift, jamming out to that, like while you're watching the kids run around and you're just cheering them on. Like that brings a ton of joy when I think about that. It requires very little money. Going snowboarding with you on Thursdays, going fly fishing, going on dates with my wife in the middle of the workday, in the middle of the work week, like doesn't require a ton of money to do that. It's like, what is that idol for you? Like, what is that number for you? Like, is it worth it? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I love it. I'm reading this book. It just caught my eye. One thing that is kind of, well, expensive is relative. On Valentine's Day, we go. Our family tradition is to go to Barnes and Noble and hang out and get a book. They each get a book from us, and then typically they buy a second book, and that's on them, right? And but it's always good. And I noticed this book, Doc. I'm a big Tombstone fan, big fan of Doc Holliday. Well, he is an actual historical character, person. And there's a book that somebody wrote, historical fiction. It's really good. But as I was sitting in Vegas, I was reading this, and it just happened to be on this line. And this is one of the top. It's a Kindle, so it tells me one of the top underlined and underlined quotes in the book. And Doc is talking to Kate, his companion, and and he's talking about this game Pharaoh, which is a card game, right? And he said that when the bet is placed, a moment is carved away from the past and the future. In the enchanted moment, anything is possible. A man's debts and regrets and limitations disappear. He's buying the chance to imagine for one moment at a time that the next card ideal will make him rich. And that quote hit me because he's talking about. He's like, why do people come back to these Pharaoh tables? Like, they're not going to win. Like, I am going to win their money, and they're going to go away broken and broke. Like and he's saying it makes him sad to see that, but he's also digging into why people continue to come back to it. Just like when these people I saw in Vegas, and they're buying the chance to imagine for a moment by moment. Every time you place the bet, every time you push a button, moment by moment, you are hoping that the next spin, the next card is going to make you rich. And it was fascinating because he's talking about the condition of man to like literally go broke and be broken by this game. But the allure of the riches is so strong. The allure of the money is so strong because there's an assumption that you're just going to be so much more happy. Sorry, when that card hits, if it ever hits, and it usually doesn't. And you're buying those moments. And so I just made me think, like, where am I sacrificing moments or placing my bets and my hopes in something when potentially everything that I love and desire most is right in front of me already? I just haven't shifted my perspective. And maybe those moments, so like for me, a moment was we talked about it, a kiss fight. We talked about the kiss fight in a previous episode, but that was a moment. Now the Nerf gun fight that we had when Pat came over to the house, like my kids, it was hilarious because my kids were like, hey, is Uncle Stewie and Mr. Pat going to spend the night? Do they want to do a sleepover? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think they gotta go home.
Yeah.
But in my kids' minds and my boys' minds, you guys were like best friends, and they wanted more time with you because we had an amazing time. Never before, in all honesty, never before have my kids been like, "Oh, is this dude and Uncle Stewie, are they spending the night tonight?" They didn't want you to spend the night to spend the night. They wanted you to spend the night because they wanted to play more Nerf and have that connection and that time with you. And so I think it's important. Again, I don't, everybody has to ask these questions and answer them for themselves. And when people are like, I hate my job, I'm like, dude, who's holding the gun to your head telling you to do that job? Is there something else you can do? Do you have to have that, is the money, are you in a situation where you could potentially do something different? Like, have you asked those questions? Have you dug into that and truly analyzed and assessed what the impact, what the moments that you're sacrificing, the bets you're making, is it worth it? Right? Is it worth it? And will you look back on these moments right now, snapshot in time? You have the ability to do something about it to right now, today, and moving forward tomorrow. Are you willing to take the time to consider what that is and how it could be different? And also to consider 10 years in the future, looking back are you going to wish you had done something different? Because then it's too late. Then it's too late. And so there's something you can do right now is get up from the table and go live those moments, right? Because they're not going to give you what you're looking for, most likely.
Love it, man. Yeah. It's a good question to ask. What are the idols that are holding you back, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Do it. Ask
Yeah,
that.
buddy.
And hey, if you want to surround yourself with like-minded men that are asking those hard questions, that are sitting in a room and holding each other accountable to becoming better in those areas, come join us. Thekineticman.com
Giddy up.
backslash sign up. Thekineticman.com /sign up.
And if you don't want to be better or get better looking or be smarter, then our group is not for you.
True statement.
100%. See you.
Bye now.